Christopher McQuarrie, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you for having me.
Your relationship with Tom Cruise is one of the great creative partnerships in modern cinema. In relation to the stunts in particular, Tom Cruise has said that what you were asking of him, in relation particularly to the stunts on the plane in the hero image, that they were physically impossible. Is that correct?
Yes. Physically impossible, yes. What happened was we designed this sequence and mapped it out pretty meticulously. We did storyboards and we did what's called an animatic, which is essentially you do an animated version of the sequence. And when we set out to do the first stunt, Tom couldn't physically do it the way we had designed it in the animatic. Simply because the forces that were being exerted against him didn't let him do it as quickly as we needed it to happen in the story. The truth of the matter is, with these sequences, because they've never been done before, there's no roadmap for them, there's no rule book, there's no manual. And what we've learned over time is you just don't fight it, you lean into it and let the physics tell you how you're going to do the sequence, and that's what you see in the end result.
When your great antecedents were doing crazy stunts, Buster Keaton, Douglas Fairbanks, Charlie Chaplin, of course, they had no alternatives, no technical alternatives. You do now. So why is it still creatively desirable for Tom Cruise to do his own stunts?
There's just no substitute when you're telling a story and trying to create a subjective experience and put the audience in the action. Having an actor who can and will do those stunts allows you to shoot those things in a way that you couldn't do otherwise. Normally, the art of shooting an action sequence like this is hiding the fact that it's not the actor doing it. And you just have very specific moments where you cut to the actor's face, and that's what connects you to that character, is being close to that actor's face and seeing the emotion they're having. With Tom Cruise, the challenge and the art of these sequences is finding a way to show that it is the actor doing it. And so where can you put the camera and where must you put the camera becomes enormously challenging. But again, it's worth it because you instead of just watching somebody do something, you're experiencing it with them.
Do you feel fear in those moments?
You're not allowed. The truth of the matter is, if you give in to stress, if you give in to fear, you end up creating a situation. That's where the danger really comes from. You actually can't allow yourself to feel stress or feel anxiety. You cannot worry about schedule. You cannot worry about time. You can only worry about weather, air temperature, fuel, and all of the safety precautions that you've gone through, and make sure that everything is working. If you allow stress and anxiety to enter into it, that's where you end up making mistakes. And so you essentially, it was early on in the sequences back in Fallout and things like that, you would reflect upon potential dangers after the fact. But now what's really interesting is we watch these sequences and we wonder, do they even work? Is anyone going to feel emotionally connected to it whatsoever? And so when we're editing the sequences together, I have people come into the editing room so I could just say, do you even feel this? Was it even worth doing?
Did you ever doubt your capacity to take the genre even further after the famous motorbike stunt in the first Dead Reckoning film?
Probably after Rogue Nation going into Fallout, I did. But I remember when we made Fallout, we didn't think we had enough action in the movie. And when I watched the first assembly, I realized how much action there actually was. So we don't think of it in those terms anymore. All we think about is, how do we take everything we learned on every movie we've done previous and apply it to something new and to push ourselves further.
And to keep the sweeping emotional vibe going, to use your phrase, and that is exactly what it is. I want to go to one of the other big stunt scenes, which is the heart-stopping underwater scenes filmed in an old submarine on the ocean floor. How difficult was that scene to direct?
It's a very good question, and one I'm glad you asked. Much like the aerial sequence, there's a component of physics in here that was completely unpredictable. There was no way to reliably design the sequence or plan the sequence. You simply had to build the gimbal that we built, the sets that we built, the entire structure with the tank and everything in it. There was no facility in the world to do what we were talking about doing. Everything had to be built from scratch. And until we turned it on, we didn't know what it was going to do. And as a result, we didn't really know how to shoot what we were trying to shoot. And it's only because this team has been working together so long, and Tom and I have been working together so long, that we were able to shoot as quickly as we did once everything was in place. So you're looking at a sequence that was very meticulously planned, but the whole time we were doing it, we knew that that plan was not going to survive first contact with reality. And we did not allow ourselves more time than we had. We contrary to what people might believe, these movies are shot with a budget in mind and with a schedule in mind, and we didn't have forever to shoot it. So we gave ourselves 21 days, went into that tank and turned on the gimbal and said, okay, now realistically, knowing what we know about this environment, what can you shoot in the time that was allotted? And that was really only then, while we were shooting it, did the planning of it.
The mask that Tom Cruise uses in those scenes, the big wide mask that enables you to see his face very clearly as he's making all those crucial life and death decisions. I mean, maybe everybody uses those masks now, but how important was it to be able to see his face in close up?
Oh yeah. Oh no. And it's a very good question. And again, one I'm glad you asked. Nobody uses those masks. They don't exist. That mask was purpose-built for this movie expressly so that you could see Tom's face, not just straight on, but also from the sides. And every time we designed a mask and gave any sort of adjustments to it, it would be a couple of months before they would come back with the next iteration of it. So that mask was designed over a period of well over a year, maybe longer. And one of the challenges of that mask is that there's not a regulator in Tom's mouth. When you're scuba diving, you want the regulator right in your mouth for the efficiency of the oxygen that you're receiving. The mask allowed us to see Tom's face, but there were two problems. One, his CO2, as he was exhaling, was accumulating inside the mask. So he would constantly have to be purging it. And no matter what he did, he was accumulating CO2 and he was becoming hypoxic. The other problem was, you can see there are lights inside the mask that illuminate his face. As a result, when he's in the mask with the lights on, there's a lot of glare on that plexi in front of him, which meant he really couldn't see when he was inside that set. So Tom's not only essentially blind while he's in that environment and doing everything by sense of feel and doing everything by memory after he'd rehearsed it, but he's got a limited amount of time in that mask before the hypoxia becomes a real problem. So while it allowed us to see Tom's face and it gave a really dramatic connection to Ethan, it represented any number of physical dangers and complications.
You talk about Tom Cruise's capacity as an actor, his ability to bring great emotional depth into those very physically demanding scenes. Did you already know that about Tom Cruise before you worked with him, or did you learn it as you worked?
I would say both. I mean, there is Tom's reputation. There is everything about his dedication to the craft and his perceived intensity. But there's also the realization that when you meet Tom Cruise, you come with a great deal of presumption in terms of who I thought he was, the kind of person I thought he was, the work ethic, and it's really and then you learn that he's not who you think he is, and that he's extremely approachable, but also somebody who, despite all of his vast knowledge, is still very much a student of film. He's still learning, It's not, this is the way you make a Tom Cruise movie and it's my way or the highway. He's learning from and drawing from all those people around him. It's a real privilege to work with him because you because of the contribution you are permitted to make, the freedom you're given, and the eagerness with which he is accepting your input.
Tom Cruise calls this film gargantuan. Is there still room to go further with this franchise?
Oh, absolutely. The thing that I've learned from Tom is the only goal is to find another goal.
And a question specifically about you. I read that you learnt a lot about movies working as a security guard in cinemas. What is it about the compelling magic of cinema that you learnt while watching films doing that job?
You know, what I love so much about cinema is it's a completely communal experience. You bring together hundreds of strangers and they're all having the same emotional experience. They're all going together on the same emotional journey. The essence of these movies involving action and movies involving suspense, it's not about whether or not it will turn out okay in the end. Depending on the kind of movie you're watching, you're telling the audience in the first 10 minutes the kind of experience they're going to have. It's a contract we sign with them. The challenge of movies like this, of any movie, is to give the audience exactly what they expect in a way they never see coming. And when you're creating suspense, it's not about whether or not it'll turn out okay. It's about creating a scenario in which they can't imagine how it will possibly turn out okay. That's the real secret sauce of making movies.
That is the sauce. It is gargantuan, as Tom Cruise said. Congratulations and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you kindly. Much appreciated.